upon us. We give you glory, we give you praise, we give you honor, we give you all the adoration. We thank you that you have protected us and brought us here this morning. We thank you, Lord, that you've given us this project to offer us the opportunity to come together, to learn and share ideas amongst ourselves. We commit today's program into your hands. We pray, O Lord, that you chair this program. Grant us the wisdom. Grant us the direction to be able to dialogue more and come up with good ideas. And at the end, we'll give you all the glory and praise. This we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
We are going to be having some opening remarks and purpose of gathering from the project management unit. From there, we are going to zoom into the presentation of capacity needs assessments. The findings that was conducted by the national consultant. And then we'll break for some fresh air, come back and have some discussions on the findings. And then the consultant will take us through some few steps and clarify certain rules for us. And then we'll have some lunch and depart. The project coordinator, Dr. Samuel Doche, who happens to be the CEO of Patton Foundation, to give us some opening remarks and tell us the purpose of gathering. So please let's welcome him as he comes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mary Jane Angel, the Deputy CEO of Patton Foundation. It has always been a pleasure to welcome my colleagues to this important meeting that we launched a couple of 2 years ago, couple of months, 2 years ago, right? It's all about how the civil society in Ghana will acquire the necessary skills and the capacity needed for us to tap into the number of multilateral environmental funds that are available to developing countries, including Ghana. And let me also take this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Finance for the generosity in allowing Hatton Foundation to benefit from the readiness program. And in the history of the GCF, Ghana is the first country to allow a civil society organization to apply for the readiness, which is for the country, and Hatton happened to be the first NGO in Africa to receive the fund on behalf of the government of Ghana. One interesting thing that also happened was the fact that Hatton has demonstrated the capacity not to solicit for any foreign consultant, but the staff of Hatton and the implementation of the project is also being delivered by Ghanaians who are consultants we consider as very competent in the eyes of international resource mobilization and delivery of climate projects. So I think the capacity is right here. What is needed is how to sharpen it so that we can collectively move and mobilize resources in order to address the issues of climate change and biodiversity loss, including pollution and the rest. I wouldn't like to take too much of the consultants' time, just as has already been indicated. And the consultant is here to deliver on the responses that you provided to him when he got in touch with you some couple of months ago. He will rely on that and give you his perspective so that collaboratively we can shape how we would take the results and then improve our work as far as governance of our organization, capacity development and capacity building and knowledge management is concerned when it comes to running an organization as civil society in this part of the world. Let me just thank all of you for honoring our invitation, and I believe that we'll have a very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Dr. Doshe, can everybody hear me? Harawasi, can you see me? Yes. I thought we were still online. But we are here in person, and I'm happy to have you engaged this morning. So, if I was a Nigerian, I would have said, my names are Padamanian, so I'll say my name is Raymond. So I'll be taking you to the findings of the capacity assessment this morning, and then we'll see how we can all discuss the results. Good. So, moving on, what we call empowerment promise. That is what we're going to get. What we're going to get at the end of this delivery. I'm going to, by the close of our section here, I hope that you'll be informed about the capacity available within the CSO community, and then what we can do to improve this capacity, and then at the government level, what exists that we can dovetail onto as CSOs in order to be able to address the climate change challenges of Ghana. So this is the outline of the presentation. I'm going to take you through the introductory session. Then there will be the technical approach and methodology, data collection, analysis steps to be followed, or the key deliverables, implementation of the NDCs, national level issues, and then we come to conclusion and recommendation. Both Madam Jane and Dr. Bache have given us an overview of the issues. So, but I need to recap some of the issues so that we can be on the same page going forward. So the main goal of the Green Climate Fund CSO project, Readiness Project in Ghana, is to strengthen capacity of 10 networks, CSO networks, so that they can be strengthened to play an effective role in the implementation of the nationally determined contributions in the planning process, in the implementation process. I don't know if I need to give a little bit of background to this, because in the Paris Agreement in 2015, when what we call the indicative NDCs were presented, there was a need for Ghana to present an updated version. So in 2020, Ghana presented an updated NDCs. And then in another 5 years, that is 2025, Ghana will be presenting another update to the NDC. So what we're doing here is extremely important, so that the CSOs have played a very important role in the implementation process. So the specifics are to strengthen the capacity of 10 CSO networks to engage the national designated authority, which is the Ministry of Finance, the direct access entities, and the GCF on project design, selection, budget, preparation, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Develop civil society climate change agenda action plan. This is already ongoing, and I can tell you there are other projects that are already in the pipeline, and they also develop and submit to the GCF one high quality concept note in line with the country's plan and strategies guided by the CSO agenda and action plan. So, if you just click on the, okay, good. All right, so the methodology actually integrated two approaches. And capacity needs assessment, the approach involving 5 steps is a recommendation from the UNDP. We have the first step, which is to engage stakeholders, assess their capacity, and then step 3, formulate the capacity development response. Step 4, implement capacity development response, that is what has been derived, and then evaluate the capacity. Then it's a cyclical process. Then you go back to engagement. It's a continuous process towards improvement. And this is integrated with the World Bank approach, which outlines or which puts forward the proposition that people should be at the center of any capacity building, that is, people as agents of change. And then when you have people as agents of change, what are the issues or the main points that should be integrated with people? So we have, and when you talk about people as agents of change, we have human resources, expertise as well as numbers, and then finance, then technology, then infrastructure. So this is integrated. So at the implementation phase, what we see is that when you have evaluated the capacity of stakeholders, CSOs, then you want to emphasize or focus on the people. So if you focus on the people, the result is that you will be able to raise awareness, enhance the skills, improve consensus, and strengthen coordination, enhance networks. New implementation know-how to be developed. So when you are integrating these with what you have been able to derive in terms of assessing or evaluating the capacity of the people, then it's contributing to what we call the implementation of course, that is why we want to determine, and the nationally determined contribution, to be able to come out with effective and efficient way of implementing. And this contributes to national socio-economic development at the aggregate level. But before we get to the aggregate level, these are intermediate capacity outcomes, as I've already mentioned. So if you are able to determine capacity, build capacity, ultimately, with respect to climate change, ultimately, we are contributing to socio-economic development if we are able to implement our nationally determined contributions. So that is what climate change is about. We address climate change issues, we are contributing to national socio-economic development. And Dr. Adichie already mentioned that climate change is extremely important for our national development. Where we have gotten to, nobody can run away or start thinking that we can forget about climate change. It's come to stay with us. We have to address it and move on. Good. So let's come to the data. Please click on the data collection. So this is the, we designed a data collection instrument based on a Cobol toolbox. That is a cloud-based application that made it possible for us to collect data from stakeholders without having to use pen and paper. The links was, I'll get to, Madam Jen, please click on this so that we can have a quick view of the instrument. I will need to move the screen so that we can have it. Just click. Consent. Once you click yes, then all the questionnaire, the elements of the questionnaire are available for you to input your response. So you can go down. We see the questions that were responded to in generating these. And some were click and go, just click and then, yeah, so these are the elements, the details of the the questionnaire. It goes down, down, down. Okay. So when you finish, you submit, it gets registered in the clouds, and then we collected the data, and then we analyzed. So I just want to show you the instrument that was used for the data collection. So you can close it. So we have seen the instrument used for collecting the data. So we want to look at the analysis that we did. So in management, when you talk about management, there are four main components of management. We have planning, we have organizing, leading, and control. Any person who is involved in management does these four elements. And then when you have an organization, we have corporate governance, or the people who supervises the management. That is why we have governance. And governance is always concerned about stability of an entity. So the questions were actually decomposed into these components of management. So these are the components, and the questions that we saw were actually related, or they are related to these various components of management. And so these are the questions that we analyzed. 6 and 7 relates to governance and stability. When it comes to planning, we have question 9, question 9C, question 9D. So what we're going to do is the comprehensive data covers all the analysis of all the questions, but we're not going to look at these analysis here. We have just sampled some of the results obtained to be able to show to you what we have done. So, Madam Jane, please click on here, the question 6A. Yes, to move click on 6A on top of governance. Yeah, it's there, yeah, good. So, the governance questions simply, 6A asks, so in my opinion, or in your opinion, the management of my organization is focused on the achievement of clearly defined strategic vision. The organizational vision defines the way forward for every entity. So in terms of that, we will come to that, but I have to mention upfront that because of limited capacity, out of the 113 people targeted, we had only 35 responses. And these responses came from only senior management. So you can see the work that we need to do to be able to elevate the capacity of the NGO network and the individuals involved, so that we can contribute effectively to the implementation of the nationally determined contribution and address socioeconomic development issues. So in terms of vision, yes, because the people who responded actually came from or belonged to the senior management category. You can see they say yes. The 94% says yes, we have vision. Our NGOs, our CSOs are being driven by vision. And then, but when it comes to the issue of clarity of the vision with respect to how this vision is understood by all stakeholders, you realize that there is a reduction in the number of respondents who indicated that, yes, the vision of our organization is understood by other stakeholders. So let's come to planning. Planning relates to actions or intention to undertake an activity leading to the achievement of a result. So, and in management, especially the CSO sector, And projects are driven by what we call work plan. Work plan, and entities or CSOs are supposed to have what we call standard operating procedure, which are plans. The work plans are plans. The standard operating procedures are plans. So the question asked, 9B, for example, my organization has a comprehensive standard operating procedure to facilitate action on program decisions. So you can see out of the 35, 14 strongly agreed, 15 strongly agreed, 14 agreed. So this is the result for the first question related to plan, and then the second question relates to the work plan and monitoring evaluation plan. 20 indicated that strongly yes, we agree that our organization has, or our organizations have work plans and monitoring evaluation plans, and then 30 indicated that they have work plans and monitoring evaluation plans. So that is about planning. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through the details of planning, and so that we will be informed about the specifics that we need to take, the step that we need to take if we want to enhance our capacity when it comes to planning within organization. And in terms of organizing deals with the structure of an organization. When you say the structure of an organization, we're not talking about a building. That is the layer of authority that facilitates communication and coordination of activities. So you need to have that as an entity. You need to have organizing capacity and capability or expertise. So in terms of organizing, the respondents indicated that is the question related to the perception of respondents on the presence or otherwise of a clearly defined organizational structure. They say, yes, we have clearly defined. But as I've already said, these responses came from only 35. So you can see high, but how about the others? How about the rest who could not respond to it could be logistic related, but the rest which could not respond to and then one of the instruments used by CSOs in their work or execution of their program is advocacy. So the question asked, in terms of advocacy, how is advocacy carried out? And majority, that is, ADC says advocacy is in collaboration with other CSOs. That is, there is collaboration with other CSOs in undertaking advocacy activities. Others, the 9% says we do undertake advocacy alone. Then 3% says as part of a group of CSOs, and then we had no response, 3%. So let's look at the individual, Madam Jane, please, individual capacity. That is to find out individuals, their expertise with respect to, or their readiness, let me use the word ready, their readiness to be able to contribute to the implementation of NDCs. So what are some of the subject-specific areas that we wanted to look at? Conflict management, revenue generation, strategic planning, working in teams, coalition building, organizational development, leadership, strategic communication, then social entrepreneurship. So these are some of the components we looked at with respect to the expertise of individuals. So the graph as you saw here, the yellow indicated that yes, we have high. Remember, we are talking about 35 senior staff individuals. So the yellow indicates high, the blue is very high, the green no response. So for these subject areas, the results are as indicated. But I've isolated one result, that is the perception with respect to conflict management. And here you can see 20 people indicated that they have high and very high. But we still got 5 people indicating that they do not have any expertise when it comes to conflict management. So let's look at leading. Leading has to do with the leadership to provide motivation for an organization to be able to implement activities. So the question we ask, especially with respect to climate change, that is possession or development or technical skill relevant to addressing climate change. Does leadership have the expertise or technical skills that is relevant for? Yes, the 35 out of the 35, 23 said yes, we have. And in this case, the rating, you can see we have rated the technical expertise from 25 to 50%, below 25, and then 50 to 25%, above 75%, and no response. So here, majority says the expertise is between 50 to 75%. The same when it comes in terms of staff capacity building, it is the leadership or the head of the entity that is to lead the capacity building. So the question was, what means or what approach is used in capacity building? And this specific question was with respect to e-learning, that is online learning. And then we have 14 says no, we hardly use, or you don't use, they did not indicate that they use e-learning approach to capacity building. Then 9 agreed that they use e-learning. So e-learning is not an approach that is used by CSOs, but they indicated strongly that they use short courses and also in-house capacity building. Then the next question is control. The next category is control. When you plan as an entity, you have to control the outcome to find out if what you have planned is actually the results you are obtaining. So in terms of control, I've already mentioned that finance drives most of the actions because that is what it says, that finance or money answers everything. So finance drives the approach that is normally adopted by entities when it comes to implementation of activities. So the question was, in terms of financing the operations of my organization and implementing project activities, the main source of finance for my organization is international organizations. So here we realize that majority depend on international organizations for their sources of finance. And the other question, the main source of finance for my organization is membership dues. You can realize that the membership dues, they hardly obtain resources. So for CSOs, the source of finance is mainly international organizations. And so if that being the case, then how do we source resources from international organizations? Proposal writing, and there is an aspect of this project to train CSOs or to build capacity of CSO in proposal writing and other related issues. So that is about the results. Now, the next steps. What are the next steps? But the detailed results, the other components of the results are in the document. So next steps. I've already mentioned that we targeted 113. We got 35 responses only from senior management category, which represents 30%. So on the basis of this, if we want CSOs to contribute effectively and efficiently towards implementation of our nationally determined contribution, what do we do? So on the basis of the results, I outlined for our consideration and discussion today 3 strategic areas. And the first strategic area is organizational capacity of CSO strengthened to ensure their financial sustainability. That is the fact. As I said, money answers everything. So they need to be sustained financially to be able to implement the activities. Then the second strategic area or results area is competent. The organization is made up of individuals. So internally, we need to have competent and empowered workforce within the environment and climate change sector, which is capable of communicating and engaging stakeholders effectively to bring about the results we desire. And then the third result area, effective and efficient collaboration. The strategy in achieving anything in life is to be able to coordinate activities of others towards a common goal. That is why, if I have to digress a little bit, that is why if we pursue as a continent unilateral strategies, we will never go forward. So even within the NGO sector, if you want to achieve results with respect to addressing climate change issues, we have to coordinate the activities of all the other CSOs. So coordination is important, and that is strategic. In management, when you want to be able to effectively execute any work, you need to break this work into tasks, we call tasks. But if you have the task, you have achieved the results by implementing the task. If you not coordinate the task, you will not get the result. And so coordination is extremely important. So first, ensuring financial sustainability, building capacity to ensure financial sustainability, then training or building capacity of the individual members of the CSO, and then finally to be able to coordinate within their programs. So these are the respect to capacity needs assessment. These are the specifics that needed to be delivered. Inception report delivered. Stakeholder mapping and identification report delivered. Capacity need assessment report delivered. Capacity building plan delivered. Validation workshop reports and material. That's what we're doing today. By the time we're done, we would have finalized this. And then tomorrow, we have selected 2 strategic topics to engage or to talk about. And that is strategic communication and looking at the details of the components of management. So the components of management and then strategic communication will be our initial capacity building activities. So please click on this and then let's look at a bit, because that is what concerns us, like capacity building plan. Let me state upfront that Capacity building, as we saw in the technical approach and methodology, is a continuous process towards improvement. I cannot, in a day, build the capacity of members of CSOs, and it's not a stage, it's a process. So we recommended, as part of this project, that a coordination mechanism be established, and that would be responsible for identifying specific gaps and specific subject areas that are required for continuous capacity building among the networks. Having said that, the plan itself, as recommended, the goal is to the goal of this capacity building plan is to enhance the organizational competencies of relevant CSOs operating in the climate change and relevant sectors to facilitate their contribution towards effective and efficient implementation of the NDCs in Ghana. To plan, the plan seeks to build capacity of all CSOs, specifically in the areas of revenue generation and financial stability, strengthen collaboration and coordination among the CSOs, and through enhancement of the competencies of the network, the workforce in the CSO sector, and then orient the entire CSO ecosystem towards continuous capacity building, with emphasis on collaboration, coordination, and transparency. So these are the specifics. Now, every plan should be guided by what we call principle. So the issue of inclusive and participatory, or inclusivity and participatory. We don't want to leave anybody behind. So everybody, or every CSO, and not only CSO, should be included. Climate change affects everybody. So everybody needs to be included. And as we have identified 10 networks, the idea of inclusive and participatory principle is that there should be continuous engagement, or continua is intermittently. Engagement with the general population to find out groups that have emerged, and they should also be included. And then simple and sustainable. Simple and sustainable principle says that you build from what you know. What you know, you do it very well, and then you can build onto what you already know. CSOs are very good at advocacy. I was, the last time government wanted to implement the vehicular emission tax. Did they pull it off? They call it off, right? How about, this is climate change related. How about getting the CSOs to take the lead in advocating on this and bringing to the populace the relevance, the importance, the key reasons why we need to do this. I was Ghana's operational focal point for the JEF, several years ago, 2010, 12. We recommended that should be the way forward for addressing it. So it's been on the drawing board for long. But the approach to doing it is to get buy-in. If I do not understand and you just want to impose it on me, I will resist. But CSOs are very good at advocacy. So let's build on the advocacy. CSOs are very good at engaging the communities. Let's build on that. The issue of empowering and transparent. We, human beings, if we explain the issues carefully, we are rational. Human beings are rational. If there is trust, we will follow.
But if there's no trust, if there is lack of transparency, people will resist. So the principle of empowering should integrate transparency, informed decision making. People, when it comes to on-the-ground issues, so far as climate change is concerned, I don't think any entity is more informed than the CSOs who are working in the communities. So you should build on that. So informed, CSOs are informed, especially with respect to the local issues. So that should be. Now, who are the intended people who should use a plan? The project management unit, the implementation consultant. I help in developing a plan, but I also have to use it. If I'm called to assist in capacity building again, I have to consult that plan to see the areas that I need to focus attention on. Then representatives of relevant CSOs as a network, you have to consult it. Members of CSO coordination mechanism, when a coordination mechanism is established, they have to consult it. Institutional other consultants engaged, and even government. Good. So on the basis of the strategic areas suggested, we came up with some tentative subjects or areas where we can build capacity of CSOs. And then the first one, remember we talked about financial sustainability of CSOs. How do they obtain that sustainability? Entrepreneurial strategy. Sometimes you have to go outside the box. You have to, you don't have to do the same thing where you have to think about how we can improve the entrepreneurial skills of CSOs. So if we decide, or if in the future you decide to take up these are the learning objectives to be achieved, then as I mentioned, tomorrow we'll be looking at the functional components of management. These are the objectives to be, and that comes with discuss the centrality of planning in management, with CSO equip participants with understanding of organizational structure and related functions. And then strategic communication. Tomorrow, we're going to understand what it means. If management pursuit is strategic, what does it mean? When you say organizations, what they want and what they need is different. You see, but there should be interface between what people want and what they need in order for us to be able to communicate with them or to get them to understand our issues. I want vegetables and fruit, but for now, my desire is chocolate. It's just an example. So let's see tomorrow what happens. And then the next topic suggested is build social movement and partnership skills. So these are the learning objectives to be achieved. So we are moving on. Implementation of at the end is, so we cannot do things in isolation. Much as we are, the UN Charter on CSOs actually gives some sort of leverage to CSOs to be able to apply for or solicit for funding without government intervention or without going through government. You can do that. But the largest funding organization when it comes to environment and climate change, GEF, a Global Environment Facility, Green Climate Fund, when you approach them to solicit for funding, they will refer you back to the government. When you apply for funding from the GEF, it has to be endorsed by the operational focal point. When you apply for funding from the GCF, it has to be the national designated authority, right? So government and climate change is so encompassing that you cannot run away from the central, government. So much as CSOs are at liberty to go individually, they have to work with government. The first issue I want us to take or have in mind as CSOs when we want to build our capacity or want to think about projects is to look at the governance issues. That is, there is the need to review the policies there are, policies that are related to climate change, and then establishing country-level NDC implementation coordination. Which entity or which authority in Ghana is responsible for the NDC implementation? EPA, right? Yeah, so the coordination, if you want to build capacity, EPA there are gaps in no organization is perfect. So if you want to look at where you can strengthen the coordination capacity of the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Finance, and even bringing these ministries together. A project to constantly bring them together to think about how to get the NDCs implemented effectively. I'm not a doomsayer. We had 47 interventions listed in our updated NDCs, right? Is it 49 or 47? 47, yes. 47. Adaptation 13, and then mitigation 34. Now, in 20, Robert, is it Robert? Foster, in 2025, when we are supposed to present another updated NDC, I'm sure we'll struggle a little bit to provide information on where we have gotten to, because the coordination issues needs to be addressed. So, with respect to governance, we have to, in certain institutional arrangement, to facilitate integration of existing processes within wider relevant government ministry agencies and sub-national climate change. We are talking about policy, but the actual activities are implemented at the ground level. How are these vertical coordination, horizontal coordination? These are issues that we need to look at as CSOs. Are they going on well? From national down to, and then among the agencies. So vertical coordination, we have to look at establishing capacity within government and NDC implementation, governance indicators, tracking through identification of the capacity gaps across government that is needed to enable NDC's implementation. We need the indicators. If I were you, CSOs, the Ghana Statistical and then the Standard Authority, we need to standardize the indicators that we are reporting on. But if you pick reports, you realize that there are issues with standardization of some of the indicators. Engaging external stakeholders through stakeholder mapping and well-defined responsibilities for such engagements, complete with a clear stakeholder engagement plan. We need to engage, but before we engage, we need to have a plan. That is the purpose of going through planning tomorrow. Planning should have a direction. And then the last one I want us to look at under governance-related issues. What I'm trying to do is that at the national level, the implementation of NDCs is important. There are governance issues. There are issues related to adaptation. There are issues related to mitigation. There are issues related to monitoring, reporting, and verification. These are issues at the national level. If we want to play effective roles and responsibilities, right, as CSO, then we have to know what is happening at the governance, the government or governor level. develop our pre-legal framework. That is, we need to pass, maybe Dr. Doshe should lead us to pass a climate, specific on climate change bills. I know, once things are changing, then there is a need to be abreast with development. So there should be updates on the legal framework to guide the implementation of the nationally determined contributions. So what are the mitigation-related issues? Again, there should be review of the related policies. Then setting up institutional arrangements for coordination, which is important. Identification of priority sectors within the mitigation. Recently, I took to walking around. Do you see? I have been to all the suburbs. You walk, and then you see people have community waste dams. And these are all sources of methane emission. And these are issues that we can take up. That will address both health and climate change. So mitigation, access financing for when you identify the priority areas, then you talk about access funding. Let's go on. NDC implementation, adaptation, related issues. Again, review the national policy landscape to see the gaps there are. And then you identify the priority issues and you move on with assessing the funding. Then we have finance-related issues. What are the main challenges with financing, compiling and overall costing for, and this is, I think, this is the area of finance. The challenge has been the costing for the various specific activities. NDC implementation related to reporting verification issues. So, as I've mentioned, in 2025, we have to present another update. Yeah. So, then we need to constantly improve on our data collection, monitoring, and verification. So, we need to build capacity in all these areas. So, we have spoken about the governance issues related to implementation of the NDCs. We have spoken about the mitigation, adaptation, monitoring, reporting, and verification. So, I think I'm going to conclude now. So, in conclusion, we have identified 4 main areas where CSOs can play an effective role. One is the agenda setting.
We've just ended the 4th intergovernmental negotiation meeting in Canada. What happened there? Somebody will say, Eseweni. Yes, what happened 2 weeks in Ottawa is very alarming and interesting. We are going to go to South Korea, but it has become very urgent that there should be an intersessional meeting because the interests from other countries are more than too high. So there are machinations. And when we were coming, we was asking ourselves that what product in this world has no plastic? Our chewing gum has plastic. Everything, string, everything is packaged in a plastic. So if we are now coming to tell them that we should stop plastic production, do you know what that means? That is the path we are on now. Thank you very much.
Thank you also, Doc, for your presentation. Now I would like to take some questions. If you have any question for those who were parts of the, who participated in the survey, if there is any finding that you want to seek more clarity on, he's here to provide that, because we are also here to validate the findings he's presenting to us. So if you have any question, clarification, this is the time for you to do it, because afterwards, we may want to accept the report as a true reflection of the survey that was conducted. So you have the floor. If you have questions, clarifications, you can bring them up.
Understand what the rationale was for focusing on e-learning as a means for capacity building measure being used by NGOs.
A list of over 113, then only is it 35 responding. I think it's a bit down the line. I was part of filling the questionnaire, and I'm thinking that probably it's because of the voluminous nature of, many people were complaining of what disease this was and all that. So probably, I'm sure that could have made people not to complete the filling. But that notwithstanding, I don't know if the timeline is gone and if you can encourage them, because I guess the more response we get, the clarity of the findings will be more highlighted. And so if there's any way we could do that and look into it. Thank you very much, Dr. Obanao.
Here in the 113, I don't know if we just targeted them straight by sending out these 113 questions, or we had a target, and out of which we sampled 113 for these responses. Out of which we had 35, which represent 30.92%. I want to get the first, the response before the next one comes in. And then maybe in selecting the organizations, did you do that randomly, or you had a list of organizations that you sent out the questionnaire for them to provide the responses? Thank you.
My name is Raymond. I want to answer your question first. The strategy initially was to bring all the CSOs together in a workshop setting like this. Then we go through the questionnaire, and then we would respond to the specifics. But when it got to the implementation stage, there was an issue with that thing that Solomon said, that, money answers everything. It got, so we got handicapped. We couldn't bring stakeholders together. So there was extensive communication phone. So all the 113 were targeted. The emails, phone calls went to all the 113. So it was not a sampling. It was 100% administration of questionnaire to all the network members. So the question about if we can extend, I think the idea is to, I think it's even good that it went that way. The idea is to find out if we actually have, as an NGO, CSOs sector, we have the capacity to be able to respond to, because you engage your international counterparts, the funding organization, you say they are strictly international organizations, you engage them online with emails, and this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate how savvy you are when it comes to online engagement or using electronic means of communication. But it appears that we did not pass the test. So that is about the survey. We cannot go through another round of assessment. But notwithstanding, what we got is good. We can work with that. Then Reverend's question as to why I targeted e-learning is we cannot run away from the fact that the world is transitioning to, a new stage of AI, artificial intelligence. My son of 5, when they are talking about artificial intelligence, I ask, where do you learn that from? They are teaching them in school. And I've been saying that Africa, AI bills create plausible application or intervention scenarios based on available data. But when our data is wrong, it's not good, then the possible scenario that will be generated will also be wrong. So Africa, we need, especially when it comes to data, it is no coincidence that the poorest of continents or nations is also the poorest when it comes to data availability and quality. Data, look, I want to take you back a little bit. I believe in creation. So when you read the creation story, Reverend, I think Genesis 6 or so, when God was giving, he said, Abraham lived for 130 something, Methuselah 169. Why would God reveal all those details to Abraham? All the people who died before Moses was writing the Bible, God gave them their age, their ages. Why? Because data is important. So we want to move into the e-learning stage, or we will transition to. That is why I brought it in, because the world is transitioning to a new era. But if you also watch carefully, I sampled. See, apart from the e-learning, there is also my organization when it comes to visit. Adopt exchange program visit as the most. That is, you visit another entity to learn what you're doing. That is one. So yours is to simply click agree, disagree for us to know how you, my organization, adopt pursuit of short courses. So there were other options. I just wanted to see if we are, as a CSO ecosystem, we are orienting towards the technological change. This is a joke, but I've not looked into the mirror for a long time. When I was coming for this program, I decided to look into it. Then I realized that there are gray hairs coming into. I said, oh, wow. So the point I want to make is that change is the only constant that we have in the whole world. And if you do not plan, if you do not focus on the changes that are coming, you miss the goal. So we are looking into the future. That is why I brought in that option.
A few points. Yes, we'll come back to you. Yes. In every research, even in a uni research we conducted, there's a column we say limitations of what or to what the study. Exactly. So to every study there is this limitation that we are exposed to. So we couldn't bring just everybody. But with your question on random sampling, we did a purposive sampling. Our sampling of the people who responded were done purposively because we're looking at building capacity of civil society organizations in certain areas. And if you look at the civil society groups that were targeted, they are also in certain areas. Forestry, land. So we are looking at the Rio Conventions, the civil society organizations that works within the Rio Convention. Climate change, biodiversity, land degradation. We're not looking at health. We're not looking at social NGOs and all of that. So that's how come we had 113 CSOs that we targeted, because we knew these were the organizations working within the confines of what we wanted to do. Exactly. I hope that is quite clear. Okay. Doc wants to ask something.
Yeah, so when we even conceived the idea of putting up this proposal, just as she indicated, we were very mindful about the fact that CSOs, we do everything. And doing everything too does not give you expertise. So we restricted ourselves to not doing everything. So the key things that we look at. One, if you claim that you are doing a climate change, the first thing that we'll look at is whether you hold an observer status with the UNFCCC, because that is where the debate is. If you claim you are doing climate change, we want to see whether you hold accreditation to the CBD convention. If you claim you are doing the climate change, we want to see whether you hold accreditation to the UNCCD, you hold accreditation to the POP, and all those kind of things. So that will give us a fair understanding of who you are. Then we move on to, we went to EPA. EPA have a roster of environmental NGOs. So we pull that one also. Then we also go into the JEF NGO network. We have the international, the regional, and the national. Then we also move into the NGOs that we have ever dealt with, their website, to look at their objectives, to look at their activities that they do. Very comprehensive. So that we are convinced that if we are picking CCOL, for example, then we are clear that CCOL is dealing with land issues. Climate change issues are implemented on the land. They are not in the air. We are not doing atmospheric intervention. So we can be confident that yes, when we pick CCOL, which is a network, then we are going to get people who understood what they are doing. When we pick Forest Watch, we know that forests play a very critical role in carbon sequestration and the implementation of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. So we are very clear. When we are picking clean cook stoves, we are very clear in our minds. 350 we know very clear that they are dealing with energy transitions and what have you. So that when we receive information from these people, then it will give us that understanding that this is where they are or this is where they are not, so that this is what they need in order to be where they have to be. So we are very purposeful. This project is not one of the projects that is looking at every CSO. That's why even in our invitation to you, you see that we are always very restrictive. Attention this, gender balance. Maybe very soon we are going to introduce age brackets. Yeah, so that we don't have only a certain group of people and a certain group of people are left behind. Because in most organizations, if you are not there, when the invitation comes, you won't go. So we are going to introduce that. So that bring people between 15 and 25, 26 to this. So that we see how. So when we do that and we publish the report, then any development partner can have a mental picture of what is happening in this particular sector in Ghana.
Thank you.
The gentleman raised concerning you're talking about the comprehensive nature of it was too voluminous. The items were, the question items were many, although, but that notwithstanding, if you answer two questions, once you respond, yes, and then you subsequently answer two questions, your response will be registered. And there were and of course the communication that went out is, even if you cannot write, just go through, pick the click and go questions. That is, that alone would have given us a very good response. But people did not. And the response would have been received and analyzed. But people simply did not, either because they did not understand the questions or they did not understand the options. So that is what Dr. Adeche referred to. Let's look around and see, is it because of the questions? Is it because we do not understand the structure of management? Then let's do a bit of orientation. And as I said, it's a continuous process. Once they are able to set up the coordination mechanism, the capacity building You identify gap, you build a capacity, you identify gap. Let's adopt that approach and see if we can all make a more impactful approach to doing things. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Ampoma Isaac, and I work for Concern Health Education Project. And we've been a part of many climate change coalitions. So I'm happy to be here. Doc, I think this is a very good feedback and steady from a more academic point of view. So I want to congratulate you and hat off for this. My question is to the reality on the ground from civil society perspective in Ghana. Was the study related to, maybe in your sampling, did you see a response from a coalition civil society perspective, how it responded, and an individual civil society perspective, and how it responded, and what is the gap between, because of the struggle for funding, the governance issues, and the survival of the Ghanaian civil society in itself? Always, I want to use Doche as an example. In some 20 years ago, Doche could have been carrying a portfolio as an NGO, but today he has grown. He has moved through the transition and has become the model of civil society. So how do we play it and carry those that are not pulling as a result of the low turnout, which of course is good, because then you are looking for 10 and the building of the capacity. And so I see a very optimistic but a confused system. And being an academic person, how should we carry ourselves in becoming like the Doches in future?
Okay, next question.
Ladies. No, I'm going to stand voice.
Thank you very much. Please, my name is Sekine from the Ministry of Information. Please, I wanted to ask concerning climate change, how climate change affects the people in general. It's the people on the ground that really face or are going through the climate change. So how are the organizations or the CSOs coming up with solutions or opinions from the people themselves going through the problems to solve societal issues? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. My name is Daniel. I'm from Research and Grant Institute of Ghana. So, Doc, thank you for the discussion. I was wondering, you were highlighting that data came from just senior managers. It appears to me you probably sent the questionnaire to other categories of workers. And if you did that, then does data coming from senior managers alone point to a situation where there could be bias in what we have? Because when you look at some of the items like planning, capacity for conflict management, those are individual responses. Like organizational structure, I think any senior manager would like to see that they do have such a structure, especially if they have the idea that they could be called upon to be part of the project. And so does having data from just senior managers point to data bias, or did you intend to send to just senior managers alone and then the response did not come? You intended to send senior managers alone, and so that's what you got? Or you wanted to send to a number of working categories, employee categories, and then you had only senior managers? Thank you.
We have 3 questions now, so you take them and we'll come back, please. Yeah, so, Doc, your questions. The first one is asking if you had any response from networks and individuals, and what were your findings? He also wanted to know, okay, the other question, I think Doc will take it, where the lady is asking, how are CSOs coming up with solutions for the local people who are mostly affected by climate change? I think that question will be for Dr. Duchi. And the last question is about data bias, whether you intended to send the questions to senior management or for, the entire categories. Yeah. I hope I've covered all your questions, right?
Thank you. Let me take Daniel's first. Yeah, Daniel, so there you are. That option, directors and senior management, once you click that, it exposes you to the questions that are restricted to only the senior manager. And if you click middle and lower, it brings you, that is the individual questions. So it was to all CSOs that were involved in the 3 rule conventions, climate change, biodiversity, and desertification. Once you were identified, as Madam Jenny said, it was purposive, that you have been already pre-identified to be in these areas. So it is, the information that went out was to share the information even within the organization, specific organization, to all members so that they can respond to. Unfortunately, we had, so under normal circumstances, we would have received even more than, even though we targeted 113 individual organizations, we should have received more than. Because within the organization, there are many people who are supposed to respond to, that was the information that was communicated. You see? But as I said, the initial strategy was to have stakeholders in a workshop setting like this, and then after we go through, then we respond to the question. I think that would have given even the lead people, the orientation to go and inform their, but, we got a bit handicapped in terms of the logistics. So that explained. And then the issue of as to whether we could have decomposed the analysis into network, and especially the 3 rule conventions. We could have, I think, the last segment, let me see if, yeah, so here, it says, please indicate the subsector where you have most engagement. The idea is that once we have sufficient responses, then we can disaggregate the responses into these various components and then do further analysis. But how do you decompose 35 responses into even gender? You can't do that. It's not sufficient to be able to interrogate the data properly. So that is the limitation we got. Then you spoke about Dr. Duchi having position, there is something we call consistency. What you need to be successful, let me take you a bit academic and both practical. How many of you drove here today? Good. Did you struggle when you were driving? Most of the time when you're driving, it is auto. You don't struggle until you confront. But when you were learning driving, did you struggle? Yes. If you have ever, I have. So if you have ever had an accident where you couldn't walk, if you have to learn how to walk again, you struggle. Babies, human beings are supposed to walk. When they see people walking, they also they struggle, they crawl. There is what we call the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. When you learn something very well, it moves from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. So it becomes automatic. In climate change, I don't know how many years. And it has been consistent. So consistency brings about automation. And that is why we fail to do it as Africans.
Just as we indicated in the morning, that each and every organization has an objective for which it was set up. Some people were set up to sell charcoal. Some people were set up to go and look for abobi and sell. Some people too were set up to go and do sell wachi. So once they consistently selling wachi, you see, recently a woman died. They say she sold wachi for about 70 years. Why should big people take their car, come and park? I think Vice President also even had some time ago. You see, so now the issue of climate change, thankfully, my boss is here. They have put it together in a book. We have the National Climate Change Policy. When Dr. Babana was there, they developed the environmental policy for Ghana. You ask yourself, how many people in this country are aware that Ghana has an environmental policy? You see? Then, thankfully, we have the NDCs, Nationally Determined Contributions. Then we update it. Now, next year, we're going to have a stock there. And he indicated that in terms of adaptation, 14 projects, mitigation, 34. No, 13, 34, 47. So, the country Ghana gave us a pathway that we should follow. So everything that we wanted to do is in that document. Ministry of Finance is here. They are making sure that wherever the money is located, they will provide that information for us to access the money. Do you get the point? And like I indicated, in order for us to do the advocacy and do it very well, we need to understand what we want to advocate. Otherwise, when you are talking, you'll be there's a difference between listening and hearing. People will be listening, but they will not hear. Yes. So most often than not, we don't communicate, but we rather talk. And people only listen, but they don't hear. Let me share an experience with you. 2003, 15 of us were taken to Sogakope. That was the first time Global Fund came to Ghana. 15 NGOs. Just bring 2 days meeting, you produce 1-page concept note. Then you'll be given $300,000. How many of us here can listen to that message and say, I'm not interested? If Foster should come this morning and say, oh, he came back from Washington, D.C., there is money for LGBTQ advocacy, all of us will change our course and say that's what we want to do. Is it not true? We will change our course. 2005, I was in the States. They gave me a check of $5 million to do advocacy for LGBT. That is not LGBT. I look into the donor's face and say, I'm not interested. They were shocked. You see, so what I'm trying to say, consistency and learning. Dr. Babana, learning, e-learning, too many courses. The opportunity for the NGO community is far, far better now than when we started. Because at that time, by the time you write a letter and go from your village to the post office and post, and the response will come, it will be about 6 months or 9 months. But today, it is just about 3 seconds. Okay? So I think we have the opportunity. We have been Facebooking, we have been WhatsApping, we have been doing all the things. So we should use that opportunity to learn. And then we should carry along others. Those of us in management, we should allow those who are following us also to have the feel of what is happening. Let us not use them as implementing tools. They should be part of the management discussion. When we are developing a project, they should sit inside, listen to them. They also have something to say. When there are meetings, bring them. Is that right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Doche. You have a lot to tell us. In fact, if you need more, just see him. He will tell you a lot. Exactly. So I think we've sat for a very long time. We want to. Okay. What I'm going to do is that the two of you have already asked questions. So you shelve yours for us to go for break and come back. But then I'll give the opportunity to Ministry of Finance because it is for their benevolence that we are here today. So Foster will have his 10 and afterwards we'll take a group photo, then go for coffee break and come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Sitting quietly, listening and observing, I don't know whether I should ask questions or ask you questions. I've had the opportunity of engaging CSOs for a while, and most of the time I ask, is it possible you can put yourself together to develop a proposal? And fortunately, when this idea came that we need to get support for CSOs, I was one of the persons who pushed hardly to make sure that it happens. So listening, that opportunity was given for us to respond to questionnaire, and only a handful of people responded. I'm like, what wasn't done right? I'm sure the question most of us sitting here should ask is, are we the same people who had the opportunity of responding to the question? If not, then why are we here? If we are the people who had to respond to the questions and we did not, why are we here? These two questions. Having said that, I believe if we have responded, it will give much clearer information, like somebody said, that is there an opportunity? Because one thing I observe with the participants here, let me see by hands those who are in managerial position. So, Doc, I think you have your observation. The people here are not in managerial position, so you can't ask them questions. It's those who are in managerial position who could respond to the questions. Because I'm sure the request went to them. So I don't know what we can do. But I believe we are here for a purpose to validate what has been put over there. I was expecting a lot of questions, interrogating what Doc has put over there, especially the findings, whether it will respond to your needs, because from this may come another source of opportunity funding. So if you don't interrogate and it comes again, you are like, no, this is not what we want. Because from the time we submitted the proposal, to the time it was approved, and the work that has been done in the last couple of months to years, a lot has happened. So if you are not interrogating, I can bet you this report would lead to another funding opportunity. And you can't blame anybody, so it's better you interrogate it. At least open your eyes. If you can interrogate a paragraph, it will help. The other thing I want to talk about, I'm going to take some small of your time to. Somebody asked what is Dr. Duche doing that others are not doing? I think the simple response is that we are scared of taking the first step. We see the work out there to be so strange coming from another planet. It isn't anything. I'm sure he's been hammering and talking about it all this while. Others are doing the same. Others are progressing the same. You just need to take the first step. There's risks involved. There's no harm in trying it. There's no harm in exploring. But I think the first step is what is missing. And I don't know whether we are connecting the dots. We come for these meetings. I see a lot of CSOs, but the follow-up is also an issue. So if you are asking the question, what he's doing is not anything strange. But then I always say that I'm an average person when it comes to English. So I ask, what have I written? Do you think it's right? And she does that for me. He does that for me. So if you are scared, scared to get somebody to make input into your life, I'm never sure you're making a progress. Nobody has single-handedly progressed to the top. Anybody who has done that, I'm not sure is being honest. You have to lean on somebody. You have to get some advice from somebody. So there's no harm saying, oh, Doc, can I do some 1 week at your place to see what is happening? Can I bring somebody to learn under you? There's no harm. Can you send Mary Jane to be with us maybe some 1 week? We'll provide lunch because we can't afford. There's no harm. It's about openness, truthfulness, and genuineness, not trying to bring anybody down. So I think this is what we can do, because there's a story within your circles on another continent that says that the CSOs are collaborating with government and they are winning and making a lot of money because they collaborate and therefore they see government, where government is moving, and they are able to tap into, because when the presentation was done, they said, when you want to access Jeff, you need to still get in touch with government. When you want to access GCF, you still want to get in touch with. There's no harm. That is why when you call, if you've noticed, when you call, if I have anything doing, there was a time I was traveling, I almost missed my flight. I came. Because if you have the information, you understand, there's no friction, there's no antagonistic. There's always collaboration and we can always forge ahead. Because I always say that government is policy. We come out with a policy, but we don't do actual implementation. You would execute. So I think it's very important. And also, Doc, in your presentation, maybe I didn't hear. You talk about funding and all those things. You never talked about responsibility of reporting. I heard MRU something, but in terms of reporting, if it's there, can we also have the reporting? Whom do you report to? Have you been reporting? You report to? Because you cannot be report to anybody. At least it makes you stronger. If somebody can interrogate whatever you are doing, it makes you stronger. So maybe I didn't hear. If you did, please, if you can stress on it for us, because it's very important that we all are accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
The main contribution when it comes to national level issue. So here it is reporting, verification, measurement, reporting, and verification. So here you can see that established institutional arrangement for the oversight and coordination of the measurement, reporting, and verification. So as CSOs, we have to play a very active role in writing reports, reporting to established. Even the public, especially, is make it upon or take it upon yourself to produce annual reports for your stakeholders. So even if you're not responsible or you're not reporting to government, you are reporting to your stakeholders. So let people, if I want to, of the 113 members of or the 10 network members, if you go around, you actually survey and find out how many of them. As a matter of fact, when you are producing a project, there should be at least biannual or quarterly or every 6 months you should produce a report. Do you see? So because if you don't report, so how do people get informed about what you're doing? So it's important. So that's one of the areas that we can establish credibility and tap into or play an effective role when it comes to implementation of the NDC is to report. Report, share your reports with government, share your report with... As part of, I don't know which of the reports, but I've captured that I can talk, so when I'm talking, please, just interrupt me. The banks, the multilateral banks, they all have now CSO departments. African Development Bank has a CSO strategy. The World Bank has a CSO strategy. Carry your annual report. Go to them. This is what we are doing. This is what we want to do. If you continue worrying them, they will give you money. If you are consistent, you are persistent, they will give you money. So please, the report will show that you are doing something. If you are not reporting, it doesn't show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, let's give ourselves a round of applause. Yeah, we've done well. We'll come back. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Dr. Abanao, your presentation I think was very well done. But the understanding I have and my expectation for coming here today is that, well, you picked your participants based on the 10 civil society fronts that we have. My understanding is that you were going to support us to be able to generate, with the understanding we are going to get here, to support us to generate a bankable proposal for each of the 10 networks. Because you realize that we all belong to some thematic areas. And so, holding as individual capacity of the NGOs, I feel will not meet the desired goal of tapping into the KCF support. And so, I'm pleading that this should be the direction at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, but
Questions, I think just help you go through your
Yeah, so what I wanted to ask was that, first of all, to know if the CSO agenda and action plan has been developed. And if not, I want to ask that we review the timeline, because the existing one is from 2021 to 2026, and we are very close to 2026. So if we could look at from maybe 2025 to 2029, so that we can really run with the document and work with it. This project will seek to address this gap, but I want to hear from Doc what are his proposals beyond this project that will offer us the opportunity to come together to learn how to develop bankable proposals. What would be some of his recommendations to actually providing some roadmap that would really support with the effective implementation and collaboration among CSOs, because that has been a very critical challenge that we CSOs are really facing in Ghana. So I want to hear from you.
Hello, okay. So thank you, Doc, for the presentation. From the emails, the invitation email that you have received, I don't seem to have seen the report. But I was thinking, coming to a validation workshop, so you should have received the report and gone through it before coming to meet here, so that we we can actually contribute more than we are doing now. So that's my first thought. Now the second thought that I have is the number of targeted organizations that you have already had and the number that has responded. Is it that you have decided that, okay, that number is fair enough for you to generate your report, that's why you didn't do a further follow-up on the organization so that you can get more answers? Or, how has been the procedure that you have used? Did you do any follow-up? Because in this case, you know each other. So I think we could have gone and do some lobbies so that more people could have responded. And this would have given us a clearer idea of the needs that we have as CSOs. So, because it says assessment needs, so that it can truly reveal the needs of CSOs in Ghana. That's what I was thinking. I don't think my explanation was clear.
Okay, so mine has to do with those final submission on the NDC's reporting. He kept highlighting on the fact that CSOs, we do reporting to our partners, and we can relay this information to government with regards to the NDCs. But for what I know, EPA has developed a reporting template that spells out the requirements, the kind of information that needs to be provided. So if you do not have this template, you will not know what kind of report that you have to provide. You cannot take your holistic report that you give to your donors and submit to EPA. That might not be what they want. So I want to suggest we try to assess that particular template, we interrogate it, where there are gaps, we can try to raise certain concerns of issues. Because I know CASA is doing a similar thing. That CASA organizes some CSOs and then try to build their capacity with these NDC processes, of which the templates, assessing the templates and then try to explore how it works also forms part. So if we can try and look at this. Finally, on the point my brother just said, I asked earlier question on whether the 113 was a sample, but that was the target. And out of the target, so we tried to use the entire target population because it wasn't that much. But we got 35 respondents. 35 statistically. I am trying to view it from the statistical point of view. If it was a sample population, 35 out of this sample, that was okay. But we didn't sample. We tried to use the entire population. 30.92% to me might not be reasonable enough to generalize the findings to represent the niche of CSOs. So as he said, if there is an opportunity, we can try and engage others who could not provide information so we can get at least a reasonable percentage to represent CSOs needs. Thank you.
Yes. Who can tell me the objective of Green Climate Fund? The Green Climate Fund. What is the objective? Yes, right. So the Green Climate Fund is to assist countries to support their activities that will reduce emissions in their various countries. Before you write it down. What he said.
One of the objectives is to help the capacity
This is what he said.
One of the objectives is to help the capacity of the civil society in country.
Ask of what is the objective of the Green Climate Fund? Who wants to talk about this?
So to build capacity to be able to come up with bankable projects that aligns with the country's NDCs.
I want them, because we are going to go to the GCF after we finish this. We'll go there. Who else wanted to say something? Yes. So you see, when the GCA was set up, 2010, December, Moon Palace, Mexico, the thing that you have said, that's not what is the issue. That's not the objective of the GCA. The GCA is to provide funding for developing countries to address the issue of education countries. No. He said, no. You see, when you are writing project proposal, you don't choose your words well. Now, we have how many CSOs in Ghana? Our organization, the number I have on it is 7,888. And my understanding that we are over 80,000 now. And almost, yes, and almost all of us are doing something on climate change. The question I want to ask is, how many CSOs are accredited to the UNFCCC? How many? How many are accredited to the UNFCCC? Because that's where the drum is being beaten. How many? Okay. Now, it's not only the GCF that was established to provide funding for climate change issues. But we're not talking about global environment facility. What is the objective of the global environment facility? What is it? And you have to say that. The objective. You are the final person. You see, so what I'm trying to say is that when we had a discussion with GCF to start this project, they were very clear as to what their money should be used for. So when we also came back to Ghana, we were also very clear as to which network and which network we should talk to and we should not talk to. Okay? So, and what I want to say is that this project cannot cater for all the problems CSOs are having in Ghana. It is not. Even Ghana government cannot do that. It's just a pilot to focus on those 10 CSOs which have demonstrated some level of tilting to the issues of climate change, biodiversity, and desertification or land degradation. So if you are not doing that, we will not engage you. Because we have to be very focused. So that when we are doing our analysis and what have you, we can be convinced that the finding that we are getting is to empower or strengthen those who are in that field. Are you getting me? So, what I want to say is that the results, for me, I believe that GCS is really going to be very happy. Because why? It will now give them the opportunity that when we are developing the concept notes and telling them that, oh, we need now $20 million for the next 5 years, they will be happy to see that, okay, if even those who are in that space, this is what the assessment has revealed, then there is the need for them to be capacitated to do more than what they are. But if the results were to be like 100 or 130, what it means is that they don't need much. It's like, for example, even though it's too political, it's like we now say that we are lower middle income. Because we are lower middle income, there are certain development partners who will not give us grant again. They have taken us for a number of fundings. Initially, we take money from the Special Economic Aid Fund, least developed countries fund. Before we move to that level, you can't go there again. Because you have capacity enough. Those who don't have capacity, they go there. Once you tell somebody that, oh, you are at this level, then leave so that those who are not there yet to come and also benefit from that. Because you have already gone there. The small grant program, when we started, Ghana's scope was going by 15 years time when the assessment was done globally, and the result from Ghana looks better the following year before he left office. Then they said, okay, Ghana SGP can no longer receive direct core support because CSOs in Ghana have done too well. Now if they want to get the money, then the coordinator now have to start writing proposal by himself. It is no more going to be direct funding. Or the one that is coming to government of Ghana must now have to decide whether we give you 10% or 5% or 9%. I get the point. So that is what we are doing. So, but of course, tomorrow and we have our 16 training programs. So all the issues that you are raising, they are all captured in the subsequent training programs. That's why I will encourage that all institutions, those that are representing them, they should not start changing them. If you start, leaders of institutions, don't start changing your representatives. Because if we are introducing how to write a concept note, the person can this month, then you change the person, then we move to the next level, then you bring another person. We will not go back. I think I'm done.
Be satisfied because there's a saying that no comment in itself is not a comment. Yes, if you say, oh, no comments, there's something with the comment. It's better you keep quiet, but if you say no comments, you still commenting. So what we're trying to say is that all that he's trying to say is very simple. You have 130 people who needs to respond to something. It takes capacity and the understanding of the people to be able to do that. If you only have 2, 3, or 4 people doing that, it means that the rest of the people don't have that capacity. At the end of the day, that's what we have to say. Even within the 35 who responded, you could see that some of them had some capacity, which is there, and others do not have. So you can add these people who, let's say 15, didn't have enough capacity, to the others that didn't respond at all. Because, like you said, we should be going to them, like lobbying them to respond. We did several follow-ups. We even have to explain to some of them what the questions meant and the options they had to choose. But even in the face of that, they still could not respond to the question. So it means that there's definitely some capacity lacking for the people to even respond. And in an examination, it says that even understanding the question in itself, you've passed 10%. So if you don't understand, then it means you definitely fail at the end of the day. So it means that all these other people really needed some kind of capacity to even understand what we are asking them to do. And if you don't have, like, a head of organization, you are doing climate change, you are doing this, you are doing that, and you're not able to respond to questions. I mean, even if you start 1, 2, 3, and you end along the line and you say that, oh, this thing is too bulky, we may somehow understand, but you didn't even start at all. Not even telling us what your organization stands for. I mean, so those are some of the issues that we want to clarify.
Finally, then I think these explanations should reflect in the interpretation of the findings.
Sure, yes.
Great,
understand that. I get your point. So we are fine, right? Okay, Doc, do you have anything? Okay, sure.
One is further assessment. Yes, I agree with you. That is why capacity need assessment is cyclical. If you look at it, stage 1, stakeholder capacity, you engage them. 2, then you come back to after evaluation. So there comes a time when you have to reassess and then identify. So the gaps that there are will be reassessed continually. Yeah, right. So you're right. There will come a time there will be another assessment. So we are on track. 2, report sharing. I agree with you. The report should be shared. And I want to believe that the project management, you need to check it out. 3, practical mechanism for improving effectiveness, efficiency, and coordination among the CSO networks. We anticipated or we talked about this, and they talked about it. So the coordination mechanism is a mechanism. So a unit that is responsible, mechanism means the specifics with respect to how something is done. So a coordination mechanism will be established. And then each of the networks will be represented with alternates. Alternate means if you are not there, there will be another person, so that no network is lacking. Always there will be a representation of a network in the coordination mechanism. And then one of the things we suggested is exchange visits. Please, if you are well established within the coordination mechanism, find out from Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Kenya, from Canada, USA. This is secret. I'm telling you, trade secret. Tell them that you are part of this network. You want exchange program. You want to send some of your, don't say I'm the CEO, I want to come. Say, hey, I want to send one of my employees to come and learn the way things are being done in your organization. Pardon me? Yeah, so the thing is, just go to your website, see what you're doing well, and tell them that this is what we think is relevant for my organization. We need to do that. So, please, we want exchange. Go and learn something. Come and explain. Come and implement. So these are practical things you can take up. And you get exposure, you transfer. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah.
Please, let's do that. Yeah, so someone mentioned EPA. Just a quick one. You made mention that you can't just take your bulk report or donor report to EPA. So I'm not thinking that we want you to take your donor report to EPA. But EPA has a roster of CSOs they work with. And for you to be able to be part of that roster, and even if there's a meeting you will be called, then it means that you submit your annual report. Every organization, I won't say every organization, but the good thing to do as an organization is to have your annual report and share those reports with your partners and then people you envisage or institutions you envisage to work with. He mentioned that, so that at the end of the day, if there's anything we need CSOs or whoever to do something, they can come to you. So some of these reports we send to them, they use the same report to respond to some other international questions like, how many CSOs do you work with? What are they into and what do they do? And those reports you send to them are the ones they use. The template you talked about is used for the national communications, which Dr. Samadoche is the lead for the civil society or the non-governmental organizations. And what they do is that they come yearly, I think every 4 years, those templates are sent out for NGOs, and then the academia will respond to it, and out of those responses, they use that to develop the national communication. So we are talking about just reporting, whatever you do. When Foster was hammering on that, all that he wanted to know is that there are some people who believe that the government should make allocation for civil society organizations to work with, just as we do in other parts of the world, like the US or Canada, whatever it is. But then, we CSOs refuse to be open to the government regarding where we get our monies from and what we do with the money. So until you do that, then it means that you cannot be trusted as a CSO. So his appeal, with what he's been saying all the time, or the ministry has been saying all the time, is that you should be transparent enough to produce your reports, be it donor report or your organizational report or internally generated funds used to implement any project. Put those reports together and send to them so they can be able to also report that, okay, GIZ, EU, or French embassy, or whichever bilateral engagement you have, has produced this amount of money or has pumped into the country this amount of money through this organization. And that will help them to know how much money the Ghana or the country is receiving, and vice versa. So we need to produce our reports so that it will be credible enough to be able to work with our government as far as collaboration is concerned. I see so many hands.
In fact, it is a comment you have addressed, of which I have some. I mean, based on what you said, my point was not a holistic one. It was just toward the NDC's implementation. And then this one, the templates I spoke about, it's not the communication template you mentioned. The template is specifically for the reporting of NDC implementation in Ghana.
Okay, let me just end there. I get you. You see, NDC implementation does not happen in vacuum. And reporting on NDC, in the technical language, we call it national communications. The NDCs you are implementing, at the end of the day, government must report to the international community what the government on its side is doing as far as the NDC's implementation is concerned, and what civil society organizations are also doing to respond to the NDCs. All these responses are collated into a document we call national communications. Yes. So when I talk about national communications, I mean that what you are doing in responding to the NDC is what is put in that communication, the document, and then shared with the international community. Because if you the NDC is also based on the Paris Agreement, or let's say, okay, let me start from the beginning. You know, we have the UNFCCC Convention. The convention needs to be implemented. And there are protocols that are enacted to implement those conventions. We have the Paris Agreement. In implementing the Paris Agreement, every country says we are going to do A, B, C. That is what we call nationally determined contributions. Contributions that are nationally generated as part of the solutions to address climate change. That is NDC. So if you are saying this is your NDC, how then do you report to the international community and how you are implementing your NDC? So that reporting process is what we call the national communication. So if you say EPA has a template that's collates activities or whatever from stakeholders virtually on the NDCs, what they are going to use that information from the template for is to communicate nationally or internationally to the global community, and that is what we call national communication. So everything in the national communication is generated from the activities you have undertaken in the NDC. Simple. I hope I'm clear. Thank you.
Eric, this project is going to come out with a concept. Okay. Now, the training process will give capacity to the various networks, so that when you come to the first time, year, the GCF requests from the developing countries, including countries that have their economies in transition, and those we refer to as small island developing states, require them to utilize $1 million annually. We were the last people to receive the GCF. That part of the 1 million, we took 400, $500,000. Since then, since that December 3rd, 2021, that our project was approved, we haven't received any money again from the 1 million. 2021, 2022, we didn't get anything. Nobody submitted anything. 2022, nobody. 2023, nobody. 2024, we are in May. That's our budget. The remaining $4 million, nobody wait for anything. You see, so the question there will be, how do we then go for the part of the 1 million? And it is not only GCF. There are several other ones. We have the adaptation fund. They have the readiness. Nobody is going there. The questionnaire you look at, when you look at the requirement for getting the money, this questionnaire is nothing. What we went through, questionnaire, we talk to people, they say, oh, it's PhD. I say, no. This one is nothing. You see, so now, Jay talk about national communication. There is another requirement on Ghana, not Ghana alone. We call it biennial update report. The national communication, I were in a team, chapter 7. Every 4 years, we say the EPA send out template. We design the template and they separate. We do the same data collection that we have done. And you know, when we send it out, even investors, you will be amazed to hear that the response is lower than what we have gotten here. Some of the lecturers are my friends. Sometimes I even have to go to their office. I take card and go. I will mention the towns. You go and sit with them before the course they are running, before they take it. That is the challenge. So if we are talking about giving time, the project has a time limit. We cannot be giving time. So if 2 people respond, case closed. There's no respond to it. When they say invitation for workshop, that's why they quickly respond. Then they'll go. But if it is to complete something, you see, so there is another process that is also ongoing, the biodiversity, because all of us are talking about biodiversity, blah blah blah. They are the people leading. There is a national report. Each CSO should have been feeding them with the thing that they are doing, so that they can also report. They have tried, they have tried, they have tried. Engagement. You see? So that is where we are. So, but we cannot throw our hands in the air. We have to continue to engage. If this year we are able to get 3 people, 3 organizations, 5, and that kind of thing. Okay, so now, I said we are going to do interaction before we go and eat. After we mentioned GCF, I mentioned Jeff. Jeff dashboard. They also got Dr. Omanao said governance, government and CSOs. Jeff money to Ghana. Okay? We have what we call the STAR allocation, system for transparent allocation of resources. So each country, they have a formula where they calculate how much they should send to you. After every 4 years. So the CSOs in each country, there is a CSO network, Jeff CSO network. You need to understand how the Jeff operates
the JEF funding thematic windows are as follows. Who someone mentioned one of the JEF funding thematic areas?
One of them is climate change and how do you call it? Is in trying to reclaim.
No. I'm saying mention one of the funding areas. So international waters. Paul is what? Very good. Then which one? Biodiversity. Which one? You see, so even that one, there is lack of, there is a gap. The institution that is giving money, we don't even know that they fund. So how then do you go and take the money? Then there is an adaptation fund. That one is clear. Even within the adaptation space, it is not everything that is adaptation. So you need to understand what adaptation means to the fund. When all of us, Africa, our priority is adaptation. What is adaptation? Let me see.
So adaptation is basically trying to adapt. Yeah, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. Adapt to the changing climate. So, for instance, to change your ways of doing things in response to the situation, the current situation. Yes.
So I think adaptation is finding ways to cope with the implication of the climate change.
So he has introduced another one, cope. Java.
Yeah, adaptation is a system to adapt into the situation.
Okay, so I will also say that it's just a matter of re-strategizing to go to resilience. Yeah, so he has also introduced another word, resilience. You see, so that's a very key word. You see? So if you are coming to advise and you don't mention that word and you say you are doing adaptation, it just agree with you. And why? You see? So now we go to mitigation.
So mitigation is a way of preventing the harm to happen or limiting its happening. So I said mitigation is a way of preventing the harm from happening.
Which harm?
The climate harm from happening.
So you see, when you are coming to advise me and you say the harm, and I have to which harm. So you see, so day in, day out, we need to have understanding of all these things so that when you are putting up your proposal, then you know the words to put into the proposal. It is okay for somebody to write and ask you to come and implement. It is okay. But the question you have to ask is that if that person decides to leave you one day, how do you stand on your feet? It is okay for people to write, call you to come and implement. Just bring a work plan, you implement. That is fine. But when that person leaves you one day, what do? You want to say something? Oh, say something. I'm bringing my listen to your
financial resource. And after this activity, the close of the readiness fund, and then a concept note is developed, are you going to enter into a mitigation or adaptation fund?
I'll answer some and if you see, I think this is one of the, to me, important question that I have. He said, how long? Maybe Jay should tell you how we went out. We started 2018. Yes. And Dr. Banao said something. Because we wanted the money, every call we have to attend. When the GCF people come, then I have to establish a relationship. Then we go and meet them. At that time, Ghana has no delivery partner. Because this money that you are seeing there is sitting in Senegal. It's not here in Ghana. Because there is no institution that, even though we have UNDP, World Bank, FAO, we didn't get there. We didn't go there. We have to look for an institution in Senegal to be our delivery partner. So you have got from here to Senegal. It's more expensive than from here to Europe. So we decided not to be going to Senegal. So we have to go and meet where there's scope. So we met them first in Germany, met them in Spain, met them where? When we finished, because we told ourselves that we are not going to. She talked about human resource and money. You need, if you want to hire a consultant, you need money to hire a consultant. The consultant is coming to ask you what you want to do. Then you tell him or her. Yeah, because he's not born to think that or to. He's coming to ask you what you want to do. Then when you tell him finish or her finish, then you put it down and give to you. You read. Are you okay? No. What do you want me to do? You will be doing all this back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So we did that one for 3 years. So December 3rd, 2021, where we met in, which country was that? Glasgow. That's where they said, oh, someone, we are going to approve your project. We have seen that you have done very, very well. Very, very consistent. I get it right. So we spend money in traveling to meeting them, then getting information from other people and making sure that the capacity, the readiness, what they wanted to do, they have some deliverables already. So we now have to force ourselves to learn to fit into that. Because you cannot create your own objectives. They have created the objective. You now have to force yourself to understand what do they mean by this. So that when you put the activities, they will agree with you. We have to do that. When we finish doing that, we say, okay, we are fine with you. Then we can go ahead. I get the point. So it is not a one-day thing, but once you develop your capacity, and that will bring me to my friend about the coordination and collaboration, so that you shouldn't be alone. We belong to Khan International, we belong to CSOs Network, we belong to ULRTC, we belong to CBD Network. So people are ready to give you information as to what you should write, what you should not write. If you are alone, you will struggle. So there's the need for it. So that's where the coordination mechanism that Doc talk about, we hopeful that when it's established, these experiences will be shared across the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. So at this point, I would like to invite Dr. Vincent Boche to deliver the very last item on the agenda. That is next steps, verifying roles and responsibilities. But he has a very short exercise for us.
For the capacity assessment, you know, when Doc was making his presentation, he spoke about financial sustainability. And to be able to continue to be doing what we are doing, there is a need for us also to continue to be looking for funding. I hope my guess is right. So based on the analysis or the result that came up, I was here, I was listening to some of the submissions that was coming up. So we wanted to also pick certain information for certain activity. In fact,
let me introduce you. He is the one who is going to lead us there to develop the concept.
So I'm the national consultant, there's also an international consultant.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And you see, before Doc left here, he was saying something that if you are going to ask somebody to give you some funding, you should have a need, right? Because if you don't tell the person what you need, he can't give you what you want. So we are taking this as the need that we need. But what I realized was that the top management level of CSO organizations were captured broadly, which I recommend my colleague for such submission. What I realized that we are lacking is the fact that the senior staff or the lower level staff that are supporting us, their capacity needs were not fully evaluated. So that is why I'm coming on board, because going forward, when we develop the concept note will be submitted alongside the capacity needs report. Okay. So based on that, we need to ensure that we have covered all streams of our needs. So what I have here was that I think somebody mentioned that whether the needs to focus on the coalition NGOs or the individuals. I hope I'm right. Very good. So now what we will do quickly is that let me see, those are the the management level. Senior, those are the management levels. All right. And then let me see those supporting staff. All right. To ensure we have a total coverage, what I will ask you to do is, the seniors, can you take your pen and paper for me, please? Quick one. We spoke about capacity needs, and they are in different forms. Okay? Right. So we want to get it clearer, because when we say capacity needs building or capacity building as a component to look for funding, certainly per the requirement will be asked to give details of what aspects of capacity needs are we talking of. Did you get it? So what I want you to look at, then for the supporting staff, you also take your paper and your pens. Then number one, right there, your knowledge needs. Knowledge, capacity needs, knowledge. So in terms of knowledge, what aspects of capacity do you want? So as I'm speaking, kindly be putting down your answers for me. Your knowledge needs. It could be in terms of policy. For instance, the NDCs, you know what all that we are doing is to support the implementation of the NDCs, right? Is our knowledge level in the NDCs components very strong? If not, then you highlight it. Okay? So the same goes for the supporting staff. In terms of knowledge needs, what will you recommend? So that we'll have that separation. Did you get it? So senior level management, in terms of knowledge capacity, what aspects do you need? Then for the supporting staff, what knowledge? I hope that's better. So knowledge capacity is okay, senior level, and then middle, yeah. if you know which capacity or knowledge needs. The first one is knowledge. Knowledge is different from assets. You get it? So your knowledge needs are different because that requires training. But let's look at also the infrastructure and then assets also has another standpoint. Then you also look at the next one has to do with your human resource strength. Is it adequate? Alright? So let's look at these three categories and let's have the input tomorrow. You see, there might be reason why you are a coalition